Okay, so I think it's the time to start. Hello and welcome everyone. This is Rahul Parik, and I would like to invite and welcome every one of you joining this session where we are going to talk about VS Code, IBM I, and Git. So before we go into the session's detail, I would like to introduce myself. I'm your host today. I'll be presenting this session myself, Rahul Parik. I have been working with programmers.io for more than 8 years, and recently I have been involved in Git, IBM I, DevOps on IBM I, and I'm extreme. I have been using and training my team to use this new IDE, which is VS Code, along with its extension code for IBM I. So today's before we go into the details, let's talk about the agenda of this meeting. So here in this session, we'll be talking about what VS Code is. Then we will have the overview for code for IBM I. Next, then we are going to see how VS Code and code for IBM I make a very powerful IDE to do the development. Since this has been the series for the IBM I, and there have been since the inception, the code has been developed on IBM I natively. But over the last couple of years, we have got this powerful IDE along combination with VS Code and code for IBM I extension. So then we will be seeing what actions are there. We'll see how can you use SQL statements on this IDE, what is IFS and IFS browser, and a little bit introduction about Git. How do you use Git with VS Code? And if time permits, I can show you some examples. How can you do the development locally, and then VS Code, using VS Code's powerful features, Git and GitHub can be used. And then we will have any questions and answers. If you have any queries, then we are going to discuss them. Okay, so a little bit background about the VS Code. VS Code, we call it VS Code, but it's come from Visual Studio Code, which is commonly referred as VS Code. It is an IDE, a very powerful IDE, which over the last 2 or 3 years has gained a lot of popularity. It was initially developed by Microsoft, but now it is open source and available for anyone to download freely from the links. This IDE has become very powerful over the time because it supports for modern day programming languages, be it your Java, Python, Node.js, JS, and whatnot. It has got the features to debug. It has got the features to highlight the syntaxes. So when somebody is doing programming, the errors that someone is going to find while compiling the code may find these errors while you are writing your code if that relates to a syntax error. So VS Code has got powerful extensions for all the languages, most of the languages it supports, to highlight the syntax. And as I said, VS Code Marketplace has an extension for almost every developer's need. That's what we say, and that has made VS Code a powerful IDE to do the development. It supports now. This has been there for almost more than a couple of years, but natively there was no support for IBM I development on VS Code. Hence, the development had to be done on conventional 5250 SEU using SEU or other IDE, which is a paid IDE, which we call it RDI. But with the evaluation of extension, we call it code for IBM I. Now we have VS Code as a very powerful IDE to do the development for IBM I applications as well. Now we'll talk about the code for IBM I. So code for IBM I is an extension that helps developers to manage their code in their IBM I environment. It is modern and has better user experience. And in couple of minutes, once we are done with the slide deck, and when we go to the practical session, we would see how much ease it gives for anyone who is doing the developing the application on IBM I compared to the conventional methods of development. So this extension, as I say, has been growing. It started with some features, and over the past 2 to 3 years, it has added tons of features and still counting on. With every release, we are getting some new features. So to say, this code started with giving the only development options. Then with the community's help, there has been a lot of things added, a lot of features have been added. Now you get the support for the free format of the coding for RPGLE, fixed format of coding for RPGLE. With the evaluation of DB2 for I, now VS Code has got the power to run SQL statements from VS Code. And then there are a lot of other extensions which makes the programming little, I won't say little, too much easy. And along with this, you can have some extensions which can show you how your display looks while you are designing it. They render it on the VS Code screen itself. So while developing, you get the feel how my display is going to look like, my PFs and display files. Another thing is it supports the native file system and the integrated file system. So all the files which are available on the IFS, which we call it integrated file system in terms of IBM I languages. So VS Code makes it a powerful combination. When you start working on it, you can use your source members which are there in library and source file arrangement, and then you can use all the files which are available on your IFS, and everything is available in one view. So hence the user need not to move or switch or go to the command line and run different commands while accessing the source members from your libraries or from the IFS. As I said, the community for code for IBM I has been working. They are coming up with new features, and over the last couple of years, it has been loaded with a lot of features, and there are a lot of new features which are in the pipeline. So over the next 1 year or 2 years, we are going to see many new features coming in. And taking all these into consideration, now it has become one of the first choice development IDE developing the IBM I applications. Now, here we are going to compare why the code for IBM I over SEU. So over the past couple of sessions, you might have got a feel that what SEU is. SEU stands for Source Entry Utility, which is a conventional IBM I utility on your system where someone can go and add source code in a source member. This SEU has not been updated for a while, but the primary language of development on IBM I, which is RPGLE, has been updated with every IBM I OS release. So it started with fixed format, and now most of the IBM I shops prefer to do the coding, or at least motivates their Gen Z and existing application developers to use free format of coding. Since the evaluation of free format of coding has been continuously been with the previous, I would say, 4.5 release of the IBM OS version, but SEU stands there. So the new built-in functions, new keywords which are being added into the free format of RPGLE are not understandable by the existing source enter utility. Hence, when someone is trying to write a code or write a keyword which is not understood by SEU, it highlights that line or a piece of code somehow that it is an syntax error. With But with code for IBMI, it is being continuously developed. New features have been added. So it goes hand in hand with the development of RPGLE fixed to free. Same goes with code for IBMI is adding starting with only I editor to come up with so many features. Now we have another, as I said, there is one more IDE which is RDI, and that RDI is a tool which is not openly available. It comes with a cost. So the organizations or the IBMI shops which are not willing to pay or for the license of the RDI or the paid tools, code for IBMI along with VS Code becomes the unanimous choice for that IBMI shop to do the modern application development. Most of the features are available on the single view. Hence, it makes the navigation from one feature, I would say, from developing to running an SQL statement very easy. That also adds a flexibility to the application developer who's currently developing the application. And as I said, this has been being developed and being developed by the community. So definitely it is going to improve and come up with some new exciting features as well. So these are some of the points which makes code for IBMI a better choice or a preferred choice of the developers nowadays compared to SEU, which we call it the conventional development IDE. There are some more points which I can highlight why someone goes and chooses code for IBMI over SEU. Okay. So another thing is sometimes when you have because the sources on written in CL or RPGLE type of SQL RPGLE, they can vary from couple of lines to thousands of lines, right? And the SEU, the conventional SEU has a limited screen which it can show limited number of lines on one view. So if someone has to go and see the whole source, they need to do continuously page down, or they need to go and find that source. But with SEU, it is a textual based code for IBMI with VS Code is a textual based IDE. So one can scroll the whole source in one view, can find it. And also it comes with a feature where it collapses and expands the piece of code block, say if conditions, your loops, this and your procedures, sub procedures. So there, that's why understanding or dry when somebody is going to dry run the code, it is very helpful. If someone wants to download a code, a source member, or if someone wants to upload a source member on the system, then if someone goes and searches on net, then you are going to find couple of documents or links where they would say they do this, do this, do this. But with VS Code, this has become only couple of clicks away. If you click, take a right click, press the download button, it will download. If you right click on any location and whatever, if you want to upload a file or if you want to upload the folder, it will do it. So that again adds the ease of the development. Another feature that makes code for I a preferred choice is that it can help you to do the development locally. It can deploy your local development to IFS, and then it has come up with features where someone can have the preferred method or the preferred order of the commands, and it can create the objects in the specific library added by the user. And these things, some of these things we are going to see in the demo. So these are some of the steps which I would like to, or you can see here that first of all, to use a VS Code, one has to download the Visual Studio Code on your local machine. Once you have that VS Code on your machine, then one needs to go to the marketplace and download the development pack as highlighted here. If you see IBMI development pack, and it says base extension for I, code for I. So this development pack is a combination of extensions where you can see the extension pack has 12 extensions. Together, once you download them, it will install at least 12 extension, which combinedly will make the development easy, debugging very easy, running SQL statement very easy, and give you tons of features. So there is only prerequisite, there is only a couple of prerequisite to use code for I on your machine. First is your release should be after 6.1, and one should have a SSH server running, because the code for IBM code for I connects using SSH. And how do we do it? I'll show you in a moment. And then we have some features. Object browser, where you can browse the object. And then we have some features which, how do we maintain the source code? So with this part, I think we are ready with the introduction of code for I, and then we can go to the actual hands-on, where we would see how we can use VS Code, what needs to be downloaded, and then how to navigate through the system using VS Code extension. So I'm going to stop my screen for sharing for a minute, and then I will share it again with the actual development. Uh, I hope my screen is available. And guys, this is the screen of the VS Code. So once you download the VS Code on your system, and when you open it, it will look like this. I have changed the color and theme because I like this theme. So once you are here, you can see on the left hand side, I have couple of servers which I have connected to do the development. Okay. So supposedly, let's say this is my first instance where I am doing the connection first time. So I would come here, I would see VS Code without any extension for code for IBMI. So first step, I need to go and what to download the extension. So one has to go to this place which we call extensions, which is called marketplace. And here you can see DB2 for I, code for IBMI, code for I, right? Since I have installed it, so it says you can disable it or install it. But if you want, when someone is starting fresh, they need to come here and download this pack code for iPack, which will install it. It won't take more than a couple of minutes. And once it is installed, you are ready to use VS Code as an IDE to do the application development. So here, if somebody wants to search, they can search code for IBM. Here you will see that code for IBM walkthroughs and all those things. So all these extensions I have installed as and the development pack that we talked about. This is the development pack that one has to install, because when you install this one, it will install these extensions. There are 12 extensions that will help you to do the application development, highlighting the syntax, highlighting the keyword, align your linting your source code, and there are some other features. So once it is installed, we are good to go. Okay. And then what one has to do is, if you don't see this box IBM I here, okay, one has to go to view and open view and put IBM I. And once if you see this IBM I, when you click it, you will see IBM I on the left side of your screen. So here is my IBM I. So first step is I have downloaded the extension. I have got the view as a shortcut so that it makes easy for me to disconnect again and again, because I need to do the development. Probably I need to switch to some other work. So having this on your left bar makes it easy. Now, once I have this, I need a connection. How am I going to connect, and to which server I am going to connect? And to do that, you have this servers. So if you hover over this plus icon, you would see a new connection. So if I click here, new connection, here one has to give the connection name, then the IP address, which server one is going to connect. Port number 22, generally port number on IBM SSH is on 22. If someone or if some server has configured to be connected on other server, then for example, this PA 400 connects on 2222. Then in that case, it needs to be changed. Otherwise, it remains as is. The username and the password. This username and password is the user profile or the credentials used to connect IBM I. So it means if you want to connect to IBM I system using Code for I and VS Code, you need to have a legitimate user profile. You must have active user profile, its username and credential. So once you do this, once you fill in all these details and click the save here, here it will save these details, and that server or that connection will be listed on this left window. So here you can see that I had configured these three connections. So first one is my server name, then I have my IP address, the user profile. Similarly, I have given my connection name, then my username, IP address, and it connects on port number 22, and then my username. Okay, so for today's demo, we are going to use this. So once you are done, what you have to do is you have to go. Let me hide this. That is, yeah. I need to put my credentials here. I need to. Okay, so if I give a password here, let me give a password. Okay, I'll just enter my password here. I'm facing some issue here, but that's okay. Not an issue. Okay, so I had given my password to the server, and now you can see that it has popped up some notifications to me that there are no local actions defined for this project. So this is an advanced setting. It says, do you want to deploy? So as I said, Code for IBMI along with VS Code helps you to do the development locally. And once that development is done, you can deploy that development directly on the IFS. So that was the notification. So for now, I'm not going to do this. We'll start with the basic features. So once VS Code is successfully connected, you're using Code for IBMI user credential and password, we are going to see these options: user library, help and support, and object browser. And what I do generally, what I prefer here is I go with this view. Okay. So here what it gives me, as I said, that your IFS and your source members, everything you can view in the on a single screen. So once you log in, by default, you are going to find this on the left side under object browser. But what I have done is I have pushed this on this view so that I can have my view. I can view my IFS and my source members on the single screen. I need not to expand and collapse multiple filters. Okay. So once it is done, now let's go to the object browser. It is one of the important browser where one has to create filters. So let's say you have created your library. For in my case, as of now, I have created my one library, which is Rahul P. And I want to view, I want to add new source members, I want to edit existing source members, I want to view the source members in the source physical files available in library Rahul P. So what one has to do is one has to go create here, and you can add a new library or you can add a new filter. So here one has to come and add a new filter. What I have done is I have added a new filter which says, it's loading. Okay. So it says my filter's name is filter one. This is my library name. What I'm looking for is all the source file inside the library that starts with Q, and I want to see only the source physical files. Okay. So if you want to create this new filter, you will see the option here. So I have already existing one filter. If someone wants to create a new filter, then you have a name here. So one has to give the details. For example, your filter name. I have by default I had filter one, so it comes with next filter name two. What is the type? Need not to change. Which library you would like to apply the filter? So I had put my library Rahul P. Objects, which type of objects one would like to see. So I would see, if by default if you put star, it is going to display all the objects inside this library. But since I am more concerned at this point, I want to look only for the development. So what I have done is I have put q star here. So this q star means all the objects in the library that I'm going to put. Say here I put a library here, Rahul 1. So it says all the objects inside the library that start with Q star. And then what we do is we have put an additional filter here. What type of objects you are looking for? So I am looking only for source physical file, because I know any developer who's going to develop are going to maintain their sources, be it your SQL statements, programs, CL programs, RPGLE programs, COBOL programs are going to stay in source physical files. So I'm currently choosing only source physical file. And then it says, do you want to filter the members also? But I'm saying no, I want to see all the members. Do you want to filter on the type? So I say no, I want to see all the member types. Hence the short form of the filter, you say filter one. It says with the library. Next is what type of object I'm looking for, and then it says all the star star. So it means I want to see all the members and all the types. So once you put these settings and you put save setting, that filter will be listed here. So for now I have my filter this one. Uh, Now here, because I have only one source physical file in my library Rahul P, here you can see that it has listed as per the definition, give me all the source physical files and their all type of members starting with any letter and any type, list them here. So now you can see I have only one source physical file which has two source members, demo1.sql rpgle and get demo.sql rpgle. Okay, so if you click on this member, it will be open. And it shows us the source here. What source that I have on my server in the source physical file qrpgle src member demo1.sql rpgl. So you can see this is a source member which is of fixed format rpg. I had created this for this demo, so it is a very small source which says couple of variables defined with input 1 and input 2. There is one variable which is of sum, one flag kind of thing which is says exists, and then it sums those two numbers, it displays them, and then I run one SQL statement. So I can see here that my source is available here only. Okay. So when you click on this member, there is an option here. By default, it will open the source member in edit mode. But if you want to open the member in view mode, so when you right click on this and when you choose this option, then there is two option. If someone wants to browse it or if someone wants to edit it, by default it opens with in the edit mode. Okay, so here this is how our source member is available. And if I want to add some rows, if I want to comment it, for example, let's say if I want to comment this line, if I want to put comment on this line, and if I want to save it, it will save. And once it is saved, you can use the action which we are going to talk about to compile it. Another example we have is, so for example, let's open this member and we'll open this member in browse mode. Sorry, let me open this member in browse mode. It is already open, really? Oh, where? Let me see. I'm not able to hide this. That's what. Okay. Yeah, now it looks good. I was struggling this, so apologies for that. So it is updating my filter again. Once you click it, it updates everything. If some changes are done, if you save something, it will try to update your member list, your filters. So as I said, once you click it, it will open it. And the feature that I'm talking about here is you can open multiple sources at the same time. So I can open n number of sources here. So first source is my fixed format RPGLE, and second is my fixed format of free format of RPGLE. So at the same time, I have opened two sources from my source physical file. For example, if I want to, and if here you can see on the right side here, I have, this is my IFS home directory, which starts with forward slash. This forward slash is called root. Everything is starts from here. Then I have a directory called home. Then I have a directory called Rahul P. And inside that Rahul P, I have again saved a member. So at the same time, what I can do, I can open two members from my library and one member from IFS. And all these members are open simultaneously. So this is the power of VS Code. And that's why we say it makes a development gives a lot of features to the developer who are doing the development for the application. Okay. So for now, let's close it. Let's close it. Let's close it. Next thing, how are we going to do the development? That is the main purpose we are talking here, why this code for IBM I is so important. Okay. Now you can see this is a free format code, which is a very small piece of code. Says I have declared one variable, then I have set up some SQL options, then I have run one SQL command, and then I end my program. Okay. So here you see I said it can expand and collapse a section of code. So this SQL statement, now you can imagine, had this SQL statement been 20, 30 line long, which is normal when we write complex SQL statement, can go to more than 100 lines also. So if you want to see some piece of code which is after 100 lines, what you can do is you can come directly and you can collapse it. So this makes going through the code very easy. Another thing is it highlights the keywords and it gives the code assistant also. For example, if I want to add one more variable, as soon as I start typing, you will see it will prompt me, what do you want to declare? Do you want to declare a constant? Do you want to declare data structure? Do you want to declare a file, a prototype, a procedure, or standalone variable? So if I say this, if I select declare as, what it gives me, it gives me a template. How are you going to define your variable? Declare as, this is a keyword. Now you want to give the variable name. So we can say demo string. Then next, how the type by default, it comes with the character. Let's say I want to give it 50 characters. And as of now, I'm not going to put any keywords, and every free format statement in the source member ends with a semicolon. So now what I have done is I have defined a variable here, demo string. So if I save it, I can save it. Now, if I want to compile this member, because as we know that on IBM I, your source member are not going to execute. One has to create object out of the source members. To create the objects out of the source members, one has to compile it. And the compilation commands varies on the type of the source member. So for example, if you are compiling a CL source member, the command will be different. If you are compiling the RPG member, it will be different. If you're compiling a type of member which is called SQL RPGLE, the command will be different. Okay. Now, to come to compile the command, we use the actions given by VS Code with code for IBM I. And that action platter can be opened using Control E, where I can select that how would I like to compile this program. So for now, I am saying, let me compile this program. And now I will press enter. And it will say my program has failed. So what you can do, it means it says that you can compile your program directly from VS Code. Okay. And the spools are also available if someone wants to see what is the issue with the spool, why it didn't compile, all the errors one can see here itself. Okay. So I can go and I can see what went wrong, what is the issue. So it says something is not defined, one of my variable is not defined. So that is the next thing. So the developer need not to go to do the compilation, then go to check the spool file. Everything is available on this single view. This is what I wanted to convey. So for example, that was a member that didn't compile. Now let's see a member which gets compiled. How do we know it is compiled? Okay. So for now I will say Control E and create a program, and I press enter, and you can see it is running some of the commands, create SQL RPGI with some members, with some parameters, and it says this program has been compiled successfully. And if I go onto the system and I can see the object with the name demo1.sqlrpgle has been created. Okay. So this is the initial understanding. How do we do the development using code for IBM I? Now someone can come and ask me, okay, these two members you have already opened here. What about if I want to add a new one? What about if I want to change a new one? What about if I want to rename a new member? Okay, so that option we also have here. So if you click on the member and if you do a right click with that option, we have seen this open. Then we have action, and then we have changed the description. So if you want to change the description of the source member, you can do it from this view. If you want to copy this member, you can copy it. If you want to rename it, you can rename it. If you want to delete it, you can delete it. It will delete. And mind you, this all actions will be performed on your server because we are connected to IBM server. If someone wants to download this, so as I said, download becomes very easy. If a source is, when someone starts working on IBM they know that when my source is on my library source physical file architecture, one has to do at least 2 to 3 steps. This is bare minimum steps. I'm going to tell you 3 clicks, minimum 3 to 4 clicks to download a member. But here you can download the member on a single click. If I want to upload something from my local machine, so if I click, and it will ask me from where you can choose your file, you can choose your location, and it will upload it. So these many features it gives us. Okay. Now, when I hover over my source physical file, you will see this add, and it says add a new member. So as I was saying, if someone comes and asks, how do I add a new member? So this is the option. If I click here, you can put a name, test.rpgle. And what it would do, you will see, it is creating a file. It is creating a file test.rpgle. It is updating my filter. So when we give this command, what it does, it creates that member onto the server. And then it updates this filter so that that member is listed in your list. So my test.rpgle has been created. Now what I can do is I can write my code. This is a free format code. I can do star inlr equal to star on, and then I can write a piece of code. Once you write something, it will give you some templates also. So I can show, for example, if I want to exact SQL, and now you see it is prompting me that do you want to write something where you are going to process or fetch or do some logic with the cursors in the SQL in the loop. So if I select this, now you can see it has come up with a template here. It has come up with a whole new template where I need not to write too much code. right? It is almost, I would say, 60 to 70% my code is done if I'm going to write a simple SQL cursor. So what it says, you can create, you can define a data structure, and then it has given me a template. How do you declare a cursor? In fact, it has giving select from here. You can put your file name, field name, and then what you want to do is you want to open the cursor. Then do you want to fetch it? Fetch into what? And then you do the loop. This is what it said. Do you want to do something? Cursor and the loops. And then there is a loop. So it says do until everything is correct. Once it is done, once you are done processing whole file format, come out of the loop, then we run that close the cursor and you end the program. So it gives us these templates to write the program. Okay. And if I don't want to save it, I can discard my changes. If I want to save it, I can save it. So for now, let's not save. So these are the features which one can use to do the development. Next feature we have is what we have been talking about is object browser. So object browser is going to give you all these things. It's a little bit slow. Okay. Now on this, you can see there is an option which is user library list. And this is one of the important features here. When we connect Code for I using VS Code to the IBM I, it spins a job. Everything what is being done by a job. Okay. So by default, when you start, it will give you the job. What is the library list? What all libraries are available in this job? So you can see by default, it will give you these three libraries. First, probably these two, first and two. And it will say this library is your current library. Now you can see I have my library, a library with my name, my first name and last name as initial. It is also already there. Why? Because there is an option that you can add new libraries for this job using this option, add two libraries. When I say add two library list, you can put a library name and that will be added here. Once, let's say you want to connect, you want to work with this server and you have added 5 to 6 libraries and you would like to save them so that when you disconnect and come back again on this server, you need not to set up your libraries list again. Then there is an option here, save this. So it will save current settings. And then if you want to remove, you can clean up the library list. Okay. Also, there is an option here where you can change the sequence of the library. So for example, currently this library is at second place. If I push this arrow, now it is updating my library list. What it has done is it has changed the attribute of this job. It will put library that I selected on the first place and reshuffle the rest of the library list. So this is how you can update your library list by adding or removing the new libraries. Next option, one of the important option we have here is, and this help and support is primarily for if you see any issues, if you want to report any issues, so you can use this option. Okay. As I said, by default, this IFS browser, you will find it here. So what I do is, if I drag this here, you will see that once you log in, this was my custom setup. But once you log in VS Code using Code for IBM I, first time you would see these options: library list, help and support, object browser, and IFS browser. But for my ease, what I have done is I had put IFS browser on the right side so I can view my object browser, because when you start working in an application, your sources count may increase. So this filter will be long, then there will be scrollers. So just to add is what I do is I generally put it here. Okay. So IFS browser. Now, if someone wants to go to or someone wants to access the IFS using conventional ACS, what they have to do is they have to run some commands, go to a particular IFS location using work link, giving the actual path to that file. With this, what we have is we have the home directory listed here. So because I have signed in with this user profile Rahul P, and to work VS Code to work properly, every user profile's home directory should be set up. If it is not there, it will try to set up. So now my home directory is here and I have one file here. And again, all the operation that I could do with my source members available in source physical file and library, I can do it. So if I want to, if I right click here, now I have an option to edit and browse. I have the option to compile. I can copy it, I can move, I can delete, I can download, I can copy the path of this, I can open the terminal, and then I can compare it with the other files. So this IFS browser becomes very handy when you have multiple sources available, or for a shop which maintains all the sources not in conventional library and source members. If they are moving to the modernized way of IBM application development, then they are going to maintain their sources on IFS, which is primary requirement if you are going to use version control Git as a version control. So in that case, the list that goes long here definitely will be a list which will be here. So if you want to use, or if you want to see any source available on IFS, you can use it. Now I'm going to show you one more example here. There is one more feature that I would like to share. Okay, so this is my source which is available on IFS. Okay, if I right click here and if I say select for compare, okay, and then I go to my object browser, and if I want to this, and if I say compare with the selected, so what it is going to do is it is going to compare these two source members, and it will show the differences that there is, though these two files are same, but there is some difference between these two files. Okay, and this option, this is the view of the comparison. Okay, and then I have my main file open also, so you can see the file that I opened from IFS has this one more line extra. It is the IFS file, but when I see the compared one, I see that this is not available. This is not available which in a source member which is available in source physical file qrpglsrc get demo. So now you can imagine, had this been some more code here itself, then if the code is, when while comparing one file with the base, if there is an extra code, it will highlight with green. If there is a missing code, it will highlight with red color. So this gives another important feature of comparing the source members. You can think of a source member which is probably 2000 lines, 3000 lines. If someone is going to compare them manually, it is going to take a lot of time. But with the feature we have for Code for AI, you can compare them with couple of clicks. Okay, what I can do is I can open this source member. Let's say if I have this source member, if I want to open it for in 2 windows or 3 windows, what I can do is I can split it. So the number of times I click this, it will open a new copy, and the changes that you do in any of the copies will be saved to your source member. So this again also is an important feature and very helpful feature. Okay, then we had a talk. I mean, there are so many features that we can talk about, and how can we use them, making a developer's life easy. But now we will talk about something SQL. So we talked about that you can do the development with your library source physical member in a member. You can do the development, add, remove the files on IFS. With that, the latest addition is you can run execute the SQL statements also. Okay, and here you can see that it is my history. Oh, yes, it has been lost. Let me see if my connection is. VPN got disconnected. So let me see. So here we have, by the time it is connecting, we can talk about. So what we can see is you can run the SQL statement from here, and you can see that okay, it saves the history of what I had, all the SQL statement that I had run probably last week. So it is connecting, it is checking all the configurations. Okay, we are good. So we'll go again to this SQL. Here you can see that no, we are not going to deploy it now. That's okay. Okay. And here what I can see is you can have statement history. So whatever the SQL statement that I had run, let's say today, I can see them here. So for example, if I want to run this statement, okay, select this. There is an option here to play or run the SQL statement. Run statement. What it is going to do is it is going to run. Okay, I'll need to start the SQL job. And once that is done, you can see it has run an SQL statement. I had selected some records from a table which is called demo, and it has given me two records from the table. It has This table has two columns. One is called demo ID, which is says DID, and then next one has demo topic, which says D topic, and it has got two entries. And how did I had two entries? Because you can see I had run this query to insert two records in this table. So if I want to run one more record here, so let me put this 3 and I say here in the class, and let me remove this one. And if I run this, what it is going to do is, what happened? Rahul Pai. Okay, should run. Just a minute. Okay, let me see. Okay, so but anyhow, this from this screen itself, we can add the insert statements. We can update the table. You can run multiple SQL statements, and all these SQL statements that someone has run, if you want to save them, you can save them as an SQL file, and it will keep log of your SQL statement that has been executed. And if someone wants to clear that history, one can clear it. So there is no history. Okay. To start with, someone guys like me who is not able to run the statement for now, so code for I comes with some examples. So here you can see that it has example of the SQL statement that you can see: data control language, data definition, data manipulation. So for example, here, if someone wants to create a new table, so you can see Here we have an option, or we have a sample where you want to create or replace a table, create or create an alias on the table. So this is an create or replace a table. So what it says, you can use this create or replace a table. You can, what someone has to do is, one has to replace this table one with the table name and then add the columns. So it gives us a table which has two columns, one is integer, one is varchar, with allocation of 20 characters. But if you want to expand on it, you can put multiple columns, change the column name, and then once you select it, say run this statement, it will create this table. So to help the developers, code for I gives us samples which one can use to create. So this was for DDL. If I wanted to DML, so if I want to insert into table, if I want to merge into table, so let's say if I want to merge data using another table, so this give me statement sample template of merge in table 1 and select these columns from table 2, and when matching, when these two things match, do something, when it doesn't match, do something. So generally when it not matches, you can insert, when it matches, you can update couple of column values. So these are the data manipulation example. And then we have data control, what access you want to give. If you want to give public users to use your tables, run, do some operations and all those things. If one would like to revoke the access, so these are also here, one can choose them and write and adjust these samples to make an actual working SQL statement. Then there is a notebooks which comes with some advanced SQL statements. So these are the example, and these are quite a few which one can choose to create their SQL statements as per their need. Okay, so I think this is for today. I think almost we are on time. So I would like to stop here for today's session. What we have covered here is how you can, to summarize, how can we connect VS Code and Code for I to iServer, and then we can use different features to do the application development. You can run SQL statements, but as I said, there are a lot of features which cannot be covered in one session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put uh, a link here also from programmers.io. We have a blog where you can refer if you see any issues while connecting, so you can go through that blog. So at this point, yeah, if someone has any queries, yeah. So I see a query: is there a limit on the number of statements being retained in the statement history, and are the statement overwritten every time a new run is made? I think it maintains a good number of history, yes, but yeah, definitely there is a count. I don't know the actual count, but uh, it maintains good number of statement as an history. Any other questions, queries? And we'll put the link of programmers.io webinar, which will help you to go through the blog that we have for code, connecting and using Code for I and VS Code as an IDE to do the application development. Okay, so there are a couple of questions here. Assignment submissions, this is something team can have. Do we need to make an IBM account to create server? IBM account to create a server, but you can have the publicly available practice server, which is PUB 400, so you can do the practice there. What IP address do you use to connect? So the IP address would be the actual server IP address that one wants to work on, the IBM server. The same IP address that you use to connect ACS or other emulator, same IP address needs to be used while connecting. How to provide IFS browser path? It is similar to that how we added the source filter for the objects. There is an option which when you click, you can give the path and it will add that path as a shortcut in the IFS browser. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think we are good to wind up. And if you have any queries, do share with us. We'll get back to you. So there are, I see a couple of more questions. Someone missed the class. So for the recording, I think the team in which form? Okay. So I think we have answered most of the questions. So as I said, we have posted the blog link in the chat. You can refer it while you are connecting to server using code for I and VS Code. And if you see any issues, please send your queries to us. We'll get back to you. Until then, keep exploring it and happy development. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining.